You are listening to Swamp Things, a podcast about University of Florida sports with the Orlando Sentinel's Edgar Thompson and the AP's Mark Long. Edgar and Mark discuss the goings-on with the Gators in Gainesville, where each is a longtime resident who has seen championship success, coaching turmoil, and plenty of drama on and off the field.
Greetings and welcome to Swamp Things, a podcast about the Florida Gators. It's November 4th, 2025. I'm Edgar Thompson of the Orlando Sentinel, joined by Mark Long of the Associated Press. Mark, we're making our YouTube debut. I got some nerves here. I mean, you and I talk all the time. We've been doing this pod for years now, and now it's like, are we ready for prime time?
Probably not.
We'll find out, but I'll tell you, I don't know if Todd Golden's Gators are ready for prime time quite yet, following Monday night's performance in Las Vegas against the Arizona Wildcats. We moved the pod from Monday to Tuesday so we could discuss the reigning national champions, beginning their defense. In fairness, a extremely difficult first game for the Gators. A lot of defending national champions don't take on games like this one. They fell 93-86 to Arizona in Vegas, which is, as Mark was noting to me, kind of like their second home court, the Wildcats. But it's Florida's first loss since February 25th at Georgia, where they were down like 26 and almost came back. This game, it looked like they were going to run away with it for a minute, right? They're up 12 points. They'd scored like, what did they score? Like 24 points in fewer than 8 minutes. I joked on our text, they're on pace to score like 150 points tonight. And it looked really, really good there for a bit. And then Arizona, turned up the gas, turned to Mo Pete, the outstanding freshman, Jason Gardner, the shot-making Alabama transfer. And I think he's been in Arizona a couple years though. And they lose. So we're just going to break it down like we usually do, Mark. Let's just do three things. Keep it nice and clean, tight and bright. And what do you got? What was the number one thing that stood out to you?
Alex Condon. I thought he was the biggest disappointment in a game filled with disappointments. This guy was going to the NBA draft, right? This was the guy you're going to build your offense around. The first team All SEC. A lot of people thought he could be a player of the year in the conference, and he just completely no-showed. 4 of 9 from the field, 0 of 1 from three-point range, 3 of 6 from the free throw line, 11 points, 8 rebounds, 6 turnovers, not a single block. So just not good enough. That's not what you thought you were getting from him. Totally outplayed by Koa Pete, a freshman. He was the one. Condon looked like the lost freshman on the court, and Noah Pete looked like the guy who had been playing for 3 years and had all the experience in the world. It was mind-numbing, gut-wrenching, just head exploding kind of performance from the Gators, but it really, for me, starts and ends with Condon.
Well, one of the themes of Swamp Things is myself getting names wrong. I called him Mo Pete.
Well, you also, did you say Jaden Brad? I think you called Jaden Bradley a different name too.
Jason.
Jaden.
Oh, it's Jaden Gardner?
Jaden Bradley.
Who's Jason Gardner? Oh, Jason Gardner was the point guard for the Arizona team back when I used to cover New Mexico basketball, and they played Arizona 4 times. He was their point guard in the 4th one where they stole one in Tucson. Well, the Gators didn't steal this one. Mine, and so here's mine is, and I wrote it the other day. Who's going to be the shot maker? Todd even raised this point a couple of weeks ago. Like, that's one thing. Like, we don't have a Walter Clayton. I mean, who does? Generational, clutch player, as he proved in the tournament last year when he matched Larry Bird from 1979 with back-to-back 30-point games in the Elite 8 and Final 4. But they had a chance to steal this game still. Their inbound defense was incredible. They were forcing timeouts, steals, near 5-second calls. All they had to do was hit a shot or two, and they couldn't. And, it was, hey, Walter Clayton, you're not going to find another one like him, but they need to find a shot maker to step up when they need it in tight games like this. What else you got, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, Thomas Houck, I thought, again, fantastic offensively, 7 of 13, 12 of 14 from the free throw line, 27 points. But the rebounds weren't there. He looked out of position at the three. Part of the problem with having him on the floor at the three is then you either have Chenyolu or Hanlogden, sometimes both, playing alongside him. And it's just too many guys who aren't good enough offensively to give you enough scoring options. And Houck, I think we saw this last night, he's not a guy who's going to create his own shot. That's just not who he is. He's a hustle guy. He's a dirty, get the dirty points, 12 of 14 from the free throw line, offensive rebounding, though he didn't do that very well last night. But when you have him on the floor at that position, he's also got to defend, right? That's a perimeter defender. And I thought Florida's perimeter defense was awful, even though Arizona didn't take a lot of threes. I just didn't think they did a lot to disrupt the flow of Arizona's offense at, beyond the 3-point line. So I just thought Houck, to me, looked totally out of place as a starting, basically a starting guard, playing in that role, trying to do the things that Will Richard did last year. And defensively, he wasn't very good. So, again, it's a trickle-down effect. You move him into that spot, and it's a lot of different things that happen. You have one less real shot maker on the floor. You have Chenyolu and Hanlogden playing a little bit more, trying to do a little bit more with guys who have limited offensive capabilities. So to me, that was another one. I like him better coming off the bench at the 4 spot, or even starting at the 4 spot, and let those other guys sub in.
Yeah, it would have helped if I pulled up the box score. Alex Condon, six turnovers, man. I mean, I'm still trying to get over that one. That's brutal. I'll tell you this though, Boogie Flan, man, this is my second one. He's talking about when I met Todd and the family environment, I decided I was going to come back for my sophomore year. Well, my question, and not to be too harsh, where did this guy think he was going to go? I mean, this guy is so far from NBA ready, it's not even funny. He made a couple of defensive plays. He had a few steals. He's definitely got quick hands. He forced one on the inbounds, maybe even 2. I mean, they really did a good job on those down the stretch, which could bode well in the future for the Gators. But he didn't do 3 assists. He didn't have a turnover to his credit, but he doesn't hit shots. He's not a physical player going to the basket. I mean, he doesn't finish. And then he's sitting there. I mean, literally, Mark, you live 5 miles away from me, and you're about as close as any defender was to him when he's standing in the corner to shoot a 3. He had all the time in the world, barely grazed the iron, and they had a chance to tie the game there. It would have been incredible. They would have stolen yet another game, kind of stealing their second half magic of last season during the NCAA tournament. They had 4 second half comebacks, but I wasn't impressed with him at all. And it's interesting because the Gators beat Illinois by 10, number 17 Illinois. He didn't play in that game. And Xavier Lee had 8 assists, 1 turnover, 5 threes. Makes you wonder about the 2-point guard philosophy that a lot of people were questioning how that whole dynamic would work. What's your last one?
Where's the defense? This is a team that played fantastic defense last year. It was the reason they went from a first-round NCAA exit the year before in 2024 to national champs in 2025. I just thought they were making strides defensively. I thought Boogie Flan and Xavier Lee would be okay defensively. They weren't going to be, certainly weren't going to be Elijah Martin and Will Richard to just shut down defenders, but I thought they'd be okay. Whew, man, defense was bad. 49% shooting to Arizona, and most of that in the paint. But, I just didn't think Flan and Lee did enough to disrupt the ball. 9 steals. And then you look inside. I thought these guys inside were, Condon, Chenyolu, Hanlogden were going to be, just keep everything away from the rim. No chance. They finished with 2 block shots. Arizona dominates the paint, 50 points in the paint. It really was just a pathetic defensive performance. 87 points. I don't know if they gave up 87 in any game last season, maybe that Alabama, but not very often. And that to me is where it starts too. And John Andrewchuk left. Like, let's be real, right? This was their defensive coach. He was one of their pieces. They lose Andrewchuk, and all of a sudden the defense looks like it's falling apart.
Ruben Chignello had literally about as bad a game as you could. 18 minutes, 5 fouls, 1 rebound. I mean, what is going on with that? That need better improve quickly. But again, here's my last take: is tap the brakes a little bit. This is Arizona. We'll see what they do. I remember back in 2017 when the Gators opened up the season against Michigan in football in Dallas. Remember this? In Jerry's World, and got just the doors blown off of them. And everyone's like, myself included, Michigan might be great. Well, they weren't great. So Gators better hope this Arizona team is great. I think they do have potential. I mean, Koa Pete is an absolute beast. Jaden Bradley, got your name right that time, buddy. I mean, 9 of 14, and he was a shot maker, right? I mean, that guy hit shots down the stretch to lead his team to a victory. But Matt Norlander, the longtime CBS basketball writer, he said the last time a reigning national champ opened up with a game against a high major was Virginia in 19, right? And they started league play, though, on the opening day of the season. They beat Syracuse 48-34. I mean, my God, peach basket air ball there. But then you got to go back to 2012 when Kentucky opened against Maryland 7 months after winning the title and won by 3. And then you go back to Seton Hall Duke in 2001 and Maui, which, is different. So it isn't like teams open, but Mark made the great point that I'm going to steal that he was about to probably make. You did play Illinois, and you beat them by 10, and you did play FIU. Not that that's a high major opponent, but still you did get some looks. And, it's going to be interesting because 2007 was like a joyless pursuit to the title, the back-to-back. But that team, a lot of the points was joyless, right? I mean, that team was kind of felt under pressure all the time. Noah wasn't the effusive, loving guy as much that season as he had been when they were wide-eyed kids as sophomores, right? But they were the team to beat, man. I mean, no one was beating that team. This one isn't that. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle disappointment, right? Some losses that are inevitable, and how they continue to kind of soldier forward.
By the way, let me just throw this out. Florida
Sure.
should be open. They should open at home. I love that the NFL does it this way. The Super Bowl champion plays the first game of the season on a Thursday night. That's the opening night. They drop banners. They do the rings, whatever they're going to do. It is another celebration of the Super Bowl champs. And I feel like Florida fans were robbed a little bit of having an opening night celebration in the O-Dome to really vet this team, to praise this team. Even if this team isn't the team that won the national championship, I still think it would have been a nice thing. Again, Vegas against a ranked opponent. I get what the Gators are doing there, their neutral site, but it just seems like to me you should give the defending national champ or the reigning national champ some sort of just give it its own little stage. Maybe you have the opening, maybe you have the college basketball season instead of opening on Monday, it opens for Monday for the national champs, and then everybody else plays Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Just a thought.
You say you get it. I don't and never have. And I think Todd Golden's probably a borderline Mensa, so I'm sure he can explain it to me very well, right? I mean, he's one of the most impressive coaches I've ever spoken with. Forget like covered on a regular basis. He's impressive. So I'm sure he has a philosophy here of why he does this. But man, I think you're shortchanging your fans. I used to rip Billy Donovan about it. And I remember, one of our colleagues, Andy Staples at the time, who's now with On3, was like, oh, it doesn't matter. Well, I'm like, I'm looking in the stands. They're playing like Alabama A&M or someone. I'm like, it does matter because you got the best, most exciting team you're going to see coming through here ever, and no one's at the games. Now, that's going to be different because the SEC is a lot better than it was back then. They got some incredible Saturday games. The slate is incredible in conference, Mark, but they opened with North Florida on Thursday night. I mean, they beat North Florida by like 50 last year, didn't they? Then you get Florida State, which is down. Then the next best games, they get Miami, but that's in Jacksonville. Then you get Merrimack at home. Okay. TCU, Providence, Wisconsin winner. Oh, that's in San Diego. Oh, Duke also. Oh, it's in Durham. UConn. Oh, great. Oh, and it's in Madison Square Garden. It's like all the good games are like not in the O-Dome until you get St. Francis, you get Colgate, you get Dartmouth. Where they playing in the Ivy League now? It's just like I'm sorry. I'm being a curmudgeon. I'm yelling at clouds, but I don't get give people at least one good home game before the SEC, which is going to be an outstanding schedule at home for the SEC for sure.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with the numbers, right? Quad 1, quad 2, you play somebody good at a neutral site, and it's not as daunting as playing on their home floor, and you can still get a quality win out of it, as opposed to how good they have to be to get them to come into your home facility. Plus, that both teams got paid, right? If you have Arizona coming to Gainesville, that's going to cost Florida money in terms of security, putting on the event, all those things. Both teams got paid to go to Las Vegas. So it is really probably a financial bottom line and a quad 1 game where they would have to be much higher ranked to get a quad 1 at home. Does that make sense?
No, hire a good football coach and you won't be worrying about money, Scott. You've only spent $60 million on buyouts. I don't think $500,000 is going to balance the books right now. All right, well, shifting to football. We weren't sure what to expect from an interim coach, a retooled offensive staff, a group of players 2 weeks removed from Billy Napier's final game at Florida, a coach that they loved, played hard for, even if he didn't always put them in the best positions to win football games. But, I thought Billy Gonzales acquitted himself well. After the game, he's like, they played Georgia, excuse me, if people didn't realize, listen to here. 24-20 loss to the number 5 Bulldogs. Billy Gonzales, no moral victories. I thought it was better showing than many expected. I'm hearing behind the scenes that, not division, but just, detachment on some levels, disinterest potentially maybe from some players, even coaches who are worrying about their futures. They're not getting $21 million to go, do whatever they want and look for a job. These guys are all looking for jobs, right? Anyway, I thought it was a pretty good showing given the circumstances, but it still ended in disappointment. They had a legitimate shot this time, first time in a while, since 2020 when they beat them, to end this losing streak that now stretched to 5 games. This Kirby Smart team, Mark, is definitely not the juggernaut of recent past, but it did what it's done all season, which is win and pull out games. It was I think 4th come from behind win in 5 SEC games. So I don't know what you thought of the game.
Yeah, no, good showing. Great, great possibility, right, to win. I think Vegas had it pretty close. What a brutal ending for the bettors, for Gunnar Stockton to take a knee when he had a walk-in touchdown, to take a knee, and instead of it being an 11-point victory with Georgia covering, it's a 4-point victory with Florida covering. Really a backdoor cover. So you feel for the bettors on that one because Georgia had it done. But if you go back, Auburn, they did something similar and gave Auburn a chance by scoring a touchdown like Gunnar Stockton did. So he wasn't about to do that again. You can tell that he's had a several weeks of somebody in his ear making sure he knew how to handle those late game situations. They want to end the game on offense taking a knee, not on defense having to make a stop. It's fair.
Hard to argue with Kirby Smart. The guy, I used to wonder about his in-game coaching and all that. the guy just wins football games, man. He's 112-20, man. Billy Napier was, 23, 21, and 23 or something?
Billy would have to go on like an 80-game winning streak to match Kirby.
I think it's 22 and 23, I believe, and Kirby is 112-20. I mean, it's just unbelievable, right? Wow. Unbelievable. All right, let's do our format that we do, even though I tell you, we're playing out this string as much as the Gators on this one. But what did you think the turning point was Saturday?
Yeah, I thought it was a no-brainer. The 4th and 1 play, not necessarily going for it. I liked going for it. It's 4th and 1 at the Georgia 18 with about 8 minutes to play in the game. And I just didn't like the play call at all. But that's a turning point. You don't pick that up. You're running Jaden Baugh up the middle and turnover on downs against, Georgia's front, which is obviously a playmaking group, and they've shut you down pretty much with the exception of a couple runs all game. So I liked going for it. I don't think that was the no-brainer. You're up 3, you're up 20-17. Getting a field goal there, you could still lose by a point very easily. So the field goal doesn't do a lot for you. You needed to score, but what I wanted to see was something different. Listen, we've seen run the ball on 4th and 1 for 4 years. We've seen it and seen it and seen it. I wanted to see play action, shot, deep, boom, foot on throat, game over, Gators win, send the whole team jumping into the end zone. That's what I wanted to see. What I got was a coach who's been sitting here and has been poisoned by Billy Napier for 4 years, and he ran the Billy Napier playbook on 4th and 1 at the 18, which is, run it, and hope something different happens, and it's not. Georgia said it after the game. They knew what was happening. They recognized the formation. They recognized everything pre-snap, and it was an easy shutdown for them.
I think the turning point, I don't want to say turning point, it was, to me, the chance to turn the game, if that qualifies. 3rd and 4 from the Florida 31, 31, and somehow J. Michael Sturdivant slips behind this Georgia defense. He is wide open, right? He's more wide open than Boogie Flan was on that 3 last night. And DJ has no one around him, rolling left, and he insists on doing this jumpy stuff, man. He does it on running plays even, where he jumps at the end of the runs. It's a bizarre, twitch, or nervous twitch or something. And he tries to just jump past, arm it down the field, and Sturdivant is just standing there just so wide open, man. And the ball takes off already with a wobble to it and just runs out of steam just shy of Sturdivant, who makes an incredible effort to try to catch the ball, and people are still wondering whether it was a catch or not. I think you could know it was ruled an incompletion. Wasn't enough evidence to overrule. I think the ball might have grazed the ground. I won't, plant my flag on that one. I'd be interested to hear what you thought. But then the next play, you're in 4th down, and then DJ just locks in on Trey Wilson, I believe, and just almost got pick sixed. But it was just, why don't you get your legs under you, man, and just launch that thing with that rocket arm of yours, and you're ahead and possibly winning this football game, likely winning this football game.
Yeah, DJ he has thrown so well on the run. He doesn't necessarily throw as well rolling to his left. That's a tough throw, rolling to his left, throwing back down the field. So, but he underthrew it by, 15 yards probably. Sturdivant had to stop. He was on a full speed, stop, come back. I thought the ball was a clearly short hopped. I get the people who say it was a catch, but it's hard. You got to have irrefutable evidence, and I didn't think the fact that it was called an incomplete pass on the field made it a fairly easy uphold.
Thumbs up. I'll start. Some defensive players waking up, Mark. Jordan Castell beating up on him on here a little bit. Great kid, but not a great safety. And part of it's his anticipation. Now, he was a step late on a touchdown. I'm not sure what the coverage was on that. Was it a tight end? Maybe it was Noah White. Maybe it wasn't a tight end, Noah White. But whatever it was, he was a little late on that one. But he wasn't late on a lot of plays. And he had 11 tackles, tied his career high at a QB hurry, nailed Stockton early in the game, Gunnar Stockton on a blitz. I thought George Gums, who has been like the invisible man all season, we expected a real breakout from this guy. Most disruptive game he's had this season, 9 tackles and a sack, QB hurry. I thought Tyreek Sapp, showed early, particularly. He had 5 stops. He had 1 assist in each of the last 2 games. I mean, he's another invisible guy. I mean, Sapp and Gums are supposed to be like forces. It was supposed to be a good edge group, throwing Cam James in that group, LJ McCray, who got hurt. But those 2 actually showed up. So you got to give a tip of the cap to a few of those defenders who really hadn't done or lived up to expectations thus far. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to double down on Billy Gonzales. I'm going to do thumbs down on Billy and then a thumbs up on Billy. A thumbs up on Billy, then a thumbs down. Thumbs up is, this guy kept this team together, made a few changes here and there. Ryan O'Hare's the play caller, shrunk the playbook way down, shortened practices to get these guys a little bit healthier. They got rid of most of the pre-snap motions and sideline stuff that allowed them to play a little bit faster, a little cleaner, not have DJ's head kind of scrambling pre-snap. He was able to just read the defense, go to his primary receiver. They got Trey Wilson involved, a lot more 11 personnel, less Hayden Hansen. Everything about that I liked. So thumbs up for Billy G, thumbs down for Billy G, because he was still Billy Napier 2.0. Super predictable, a lot of the similar offenses. There just weren't enough changes, and it certainly didn't change their identity. Listen, this is a no-lose situation. All you can do is be different and hope for different outcomes. And if you don't get the outcome, who cares, right? It's a losing season, it's a lost season, but Billy G had a real chance here to just be different, change everything and show, hey, it wasn't good enough the way it was. We did it for 4 years. Let's try something different. And he did. And it started, they win the toss and deferred. Womp, womp, womp. You put Georgia's offense out there, they go down the length of the field, score, you're chasing points right out of the get. Win the toss, take the ball, right? You've changed things offensively. You got a new play caller. That's where you could have struck fast, got Georgia on its heels, and maybe make something happen. But there weren't just enough changes. And again, the big issue here was you were still who you were, running the ball on 3rd and short, running the ball, but you were totally predictable. Everything they did was just right by the book. Billy Napier 2.0. It was right out of Billy's playbook, and I just thought that part was disappointing. This was a chance to really just let loose and be like, hey, listen, guys, we are either winning this game or we're going to die trying to win this game. And I didn't feel like that at any point in the game, beginning with the first quarter when they kicked the field goal on 4th and goal from the whatever it was, 4th and goal from the 3 or whatever, 18-yard field goal. Come on. That's not how you win. That's not how you beat Georgia. That's not how you win in the SEC, is by kicking 18-yard field goals. Come on.
Yeah, and in fairness, it was 22, but
okay.
For Trey Smack, that's like I was going to say Boogie Flan making a layup, but well, we need to change players there. Look, I'm doubling down on DJ. He makes his best throw of the season, arguably. Vintage DJ from a year ago, with a little bit of a jump in there, where he hits Trey Wilson for a 40-yarder, and impressive. And you're like, oh, okay, DJ's feeling it, right? Well, when they needed him to feel it, he missed Tank Hawkins wide open late in the first half, where they could have gotten points. Billy Gonzales talked about this middle 8. This middle 8 was something Nick Delatorre, a colleague of ours, now with Florida Victorious, talks about, or did talk about back in 2022 with Billy Napier. The last 4 minutes the first half, first 4 minutes the second half, you got to win that. I mean, it's big for momentum. And they outscored 10-0 against Georgia. And part of that was because of the missed Tank Hawkins throw that gave Georgia the ball back, and they got a field goal. The other one's the Sturdivant one, which I've already gone through. people look, I'm not George Whitfield here, some quarterback's guru, but I can see DJ's Lagway's fundamentals just by his inaccuracy and just inconsistency. They're not there. He doesn't have his feet under him often, right? I mean, what pitcher is like jumping off the mound and throwing the ball? I mean, right? You plant and shift your weight and keep your legs under you, man. I mean, then he does all this like sidearm tossing. They're showing a warm-up video. Zach Alberverdi was one of our colleagues on the field taking video of him, DJ, and Tramel Jones Jr., the backup, warming up. And DJ's throwing this like sidearmy looking thing like a pitcher. And Tramel Jones is throwing it like a quarterback, was the comment someone made. I mean, he's throwing the football and it's coming out nicely and tightly and consistently. I'm still wondering why they don't give Tramel Jones a little bit of a taste of action. See what you got. I mean, Billy Gonzales is here for the Gators. He's made that clear. I think he wants to stay on in some capacity. I think the next coaching staff might be wise to keep a guy around who knows the lay of the land, the culture, and is obviously has a great track record coaching receivers in some role, whether it's even as an analyst behind the scenes, whatever it is. But if you are here for the Gators and the future of the Gators and yourself, why not let Tramel Jones get a little action here and there and see what you got in these next 4 weeks? Second guess, Mark. I will just look, I'm just going to play off what you said and we'll just move on. Scared money is still scared money. Billy comes here with this whole like notion of, and it was a clever little line at the end of a first half of Louisiana game to a sideline reporter after they did a 4th and goal and scored. And he's like, scared money, don't make money. Well, he never really was that guy. He attempted to be at Tennessee in 2022 when they lost 38-33, and he took a bunch of, chances in that game. And you came up short against a really good offense with Hendon Hooker, coached by Alex Golish, who's kicking butt down at USF, and Josh Heupel. And then I don't know that I saw a lot of scared money don't make money from Billy after that game even. And it was like, I mean, okay, it didn't work that time at Rocky Top 38-33. Keep going that way. Try it. Try to make that happen. I don't know if he had the players to do it. I don't know if Graham Mertz was that quarterback, but you'd think DJ Lagway might be. Getting too conservative, man. You're channeling Billy, and Billy's back in Gainesville and Hill Plantation or wherever, Tioga, watching the football game.
Yeah, and I'm going to just piggyback on that and some very similar. 1st and goal at the 10 in the first quarter. Again, 7-7 game. You're down there in the 10-yard line. You got a chance to score again against Georgia. You scored on your first drive. Now you've driven it down there. You got a chance to score again. And that actually, it was, you get this deep pass to Eugene Wilson to start the play, to start the drive on a 1st and 10 from the Georgia 38. And you get this nice 28-yard gain. You're down there, 10-yard line, run the ball with Baugh, run the ball with DJ, kick a field goal. It was really, you just take all the air out of the sideline kicking a field goal. Field goals are great when they win games. Field goals are great when they're 50-plus yarders. 22-yard field goals are like the absolute worst. 18 is even worse, but 22, 18, you're down there. You've got to score. Florida hasn't been good enough in the red zone, haven't been good enough on goal-to-goal situations, and it has to change. But again, and I thought it might with Billy G, because he's a receivers coach. He likes his receivers. That's where they think they've got their most talent. So you're down there, throw it to these guys. Throw it up. I mean, throw it up for Dallas Wilson. Throw it up for Aiden Mizell. Aiden Mizell was out. But throw it up for somebody, anybody, and take your chances there. And running it was a total disappointment.
Who gets your game ball, Mark?
Yeah, George Gums. 11 tackles, including a sack. I thought he was active. It was the best we've seen him all year. He's kind of been banged up, right? Most of the season, a little bit of the season. So I liked it. I liked his effort and enthusiasm and energy out there. I actually talked to a couple scouts after the game who were at the game, and they thought he was the guy who stood out for Florida as maybe being the best guy on the field. Eugene Wilson also got a lot of, woo, who's this? Where's he been? And but to me, it was Gums on the defensive side of the ball that caught the scout's attention.
Well, I guess you stole my game ball. Trey Wilson, 121 yards, 3 more than he had all season, 9 catches, which was he'd had 18 coming in. He had 9. They got him involved early, 13-yarder right out of the gate, the 40-yard touchdown, the long reception you mentioned. But since we already kind of touched on him, and now with Dallas Wilson injured and gone for the season, he's going to be even more primary. Vernell Brown III should be back this week, what I was hearing, and Billy kind of said they're hopeful. I think he'll probably be back after a shoulder injury. But let's give a third game ball. Trey Smack, right? 54-yard field goal, broke the school record, has 9 50-yarders. He's 9 of 12 now in his career. The guy's a stud. He could, I don't know the kicking, hierarchy in college football, but there can't be many better than Trey Smack. I still can't get my mind around how he missed 2 field goals. I mean, he missed a 58-yarder that hit the upright, but he missed 3 field goals against LIU, and 2 of them were extremely makeable for this guy. And he could be as good as any kicker in the game right now. So kudos to him. All right, Billy's banner. We don't have to change the title because we got another Billy in here, Billy G, right? So I'm going to go first because you're doing Kirby's banner because you were in the locker room with them. Yeah, just the no moral victory saying came here to win. A lot of people are like saying to me, I run in a couple of people at the gym and he didn't care, but I think he came across like a guy who cared to me. I mean, he was proud of the team, its resilience. You got to be impressed. I mean, this team went through a lot, and I get it. It's just football, but these guys invest like their entire beings into this operation year round, right? What 20-hour rule are we talking about? These kids are consumed with this year round with the training and the film watching and all this stuff. And then they lose their coach and it's just like, oh my God, what are we even doing? Plus they're getting paid now and the paychecks aren't going to stop just because the coach left, right? So what's the motivation here? And I thought they came out and looked like a motivated team. They responded, and he praised them for that and ended with, I know they're hurt and their staff's hurt and I'm hurt, and we came under one and fell short.
Yeah, I did Georgia, ranked team. Obviously, a big win there for them, 5th straight in the cocktail party. But, I thought Kirby was interesting because he made it very clear. He's like, listen, Florida changed a lot. They made it simpler on the quarterback, got rid of a lot of their pre-snap motion, stuff like that, really simplified things for the quarterback. And he's like, hey, the reality is we got, quote, insanely lucky because of the Sturdivant getting behind the defense and DJ missing on that pass. And he's like, I promise you this, no one wants to play the Gators right now, regardless of their record. And he's probably right. Listen, they're still playing hard on defense. They have some playmakers on offense. We would like to see, I think everybody would like to see Florida at 100%. What could they be at 100%? And that's kind of what Kirby was saying. This team is really good despite, the turmoil that they're going through.
Has a lot of potential for sure that it hasn't tapped into. What do you got from Monday, Billy G, Mark? Did anything jump out to you?
Yeah, I just thought, the fact that I asked him specifically about the 4th down calls, right? Kicking the field goal on 4th down, the 4th and 4 pass to Trey Wilson, the 4th and 1 run with ball. Just those are game-changing plays, right? And he hemmed and hawed and said, just because it happens at the end doesn't make it the biggest play in the game. There's a lot of plays that could have changed. Okay, sure. But those were crunch time. Those are 4th down calls. Those are important calls, what you do. And he didn't have any second guesses about them. So I thought that was interesting that, very similar to Billy Napier here. He's living and dying with what's called in the booth. I think you could have gotten up there and said, hey, you second guess all of them, right? I think that's the nature of the business. It's the nature of coaching. You wish you had it to do over again, and you probably would have done something different. Again, I go back to the 4th and 1 play where they ran ball with, Georgia knew it was coming at the 18-yard line. I would have loved to have seen a play action there, roll DJ out and hit somebody streaking down the field where Georgia was biting maybe a tight end you thought was going to block, just sweep, streaking down the seam there and let DJ run it. And if you miss it, you miss it. The ball gets dropped, the ball gets dropped. I just would have liked to have seen something different than what we've watched for 4 years.
What, different than Jaden Ball running up the rear end of Damian George? You hadn't blocked anyone all day?
Yes, there you go.
Billy G talked about DJ, and I thought it was fairly telling what he said, that he just needs to continue to relax. This kid is getting paid a king's ransom, driving 2 luxury automobiles, depending on his mood. He'll pull out his Lamborghini or his Mercedes. He's having his name chanted when he walks into the O-Dome a year ago. I don't think anyone's going to be chanting his name on the North Florida game if he comes to that game. And he's under a lot of pressure. He's a 20-year-old kid, right? My Lord. And he's like, he needs to continue to relax. And he also made a point that they need to continue to put him in position and pare things down, get him multiple reps at things, give him the good looks through practice. It's like I was saying to Mark, get good at hitting your 7-iron, right? You start getting control of hitting your 7-iron, and then you can hit that thing with confidence, and then you can start, expanding your repertoire. But if you're out there swinging a 7-iron and then, I'm going to try to hit a 3-iron on this one, or a 4-iron, or 5 wood, whatever. We don't need to get too deeply into the golf analogy, but, get him good at a couple of things and get him really comfortable. And then you start expanding. I think Billy Napier, from what I hear, would just cram this kid's dome full of stuff, created confusion during quarterback meetings, and the playbook was way too fat. And we saw the results. I think he showed some flashes the other day. I think he's going to, with 4 more games to go, I'll be interested to see how that comes together. Locker room view, Mark. I'll go stick with DJ. He talked about showing, he showed some dual threat abilities. He had 10 carries. He had a 26-yard run that was pretty impressive. Austin Barber, Jacksonville native, with a hold that would have been a killer penalty in the past. Instead, first snap, QB keeper, DJ right up the middle for 26 yards. Best run I've seen the guy have since that Kentucky run around the end that kind of set up that game last year. But he talked about he's moving around better. His legs are starting to get back under him, starting to feel like himself again. It's too bad it's week 11 and not week 1, because the injuries have really held back this kid, hurt his confidence. And he admitted, I missed some throws. He's not making timely throws. He takes ownership. I'll give the guy credit. Doesn't say a lot, but he owns his mistakes. And we'll see. He's got 4 weeks because there's a new coach coming in, and the guy's going to have a decision to make. Lane Kiffin comes here. He's going to have a decision to make on DJ Lagway, whether he even wants to coach him next season. And I think, I'm not saying he's auditioning for next season, but in a way he might be.
Yeah, that's fair. I wonder whether the next coach will want DJ, to be honest.
That's what I was saying.
He looks fatally flawed to me. And I don't know. I don't know if you can clean it up. I just don't know. I just don't know if you want. He's a reclamation project right now. So I just don't know if any coach wants to take that on. If you're Lane Kiffin, wouldn't you rather have somebody who's worked in your system? And again, Trinidad Chambliss will be gone. He's out of eligibility. But wouldn't you want somebody who's worked under him for 2 years?
Former Gator commit.
Yeah, exactly. Austin Simmons. Wouldn't you want that guy in Gainesville? You don't have to break him down. You don't have to get rid of bad habits. You don't have to teach him the offense. He knows it all. To me, I think it's a no-brainer. I just don't think DJ's been good enough. And I think we're getting to the point now where last year looks like the fluke as opposed to this year.
Yeah, well, they got film on him, as people would say, always like to say, right? You have film on the kid now, and They started playing him differently. and the zone coverages were showing down the stretch. Even, I mean, the Tulane game where he had 2 red zone interceptions. So we'll see. I mean, I think he's definitely got a lot of talent and a lot of upside. But we said that about Anthony Richardson too. Monday, what did you get from players?
Yeah, George Gums was in there yesterday, Monday, and he was pretty funny talking about cold weather. It's going to be in the 40s, low 40s, I think. I wouldn't call that necessarily a cold weather game, but it's for people living in Gainesville, that's pretty chilly. Billy Gonzales pushed back on that and said that's what it is every day in Gainesville in the morning and at night. Yeah, the last week, and it's supposed to get even colder this weekend, but I think playing in Kentucky will be different for these guys. It'll feel different. But for George Gums, this is a guy who was in the MAC up in Chicago, and he said, I haven't even thought about this being a cold game. Y'all probably wouldn't be able to fathom the games I've played in before. Going back to 2022, MACtion on a Wednesday night game in Northern Illinois. There's snow, sleet, and you have to shovel the field. And then it might rain and the wind's blowing. And so, he's like, you're not even getting – hey, he was a walk-on. He wasn't even getting any reps, so he's just sitting there freezing. But I said to him, you didn't actually have to cover the field, did you? Or plow the field. And he's like, oh, I shoveled the field a couple times. I mean, that tells you where he's coming from. In the MAC, they're helping out the grounds crew when in big snow. So that was pretty funny. And I thought one of the most interesting takes was, how cold is this game actually going to be?
Well, I'm sitting here in my beanie for people who decide for the YouTube option because I'm freezing my tail off. But these Florida homes do stay cold. They don't have great insulation. But Mark just ruined my day because I'm looking next week. We got in the 30s early next week. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I think Sunday it's supposed to get cold.
Well, there's rain moving through. Yeah, Gums is fun. He didn't ruin my day. He brightened my day. His histrionics on the field are a little much, but if that's what it takes to get him pumped up, and he produces 9 tackles in a sack in a hurry, hey, and gets NFL buzz, more power to the kid. He's a nice kid, comes in there and speaks a lot. Who wants to come talk about this stuff? I mean, right? I mean, if you're a player, right. I mean, my Lord, I covered the Dolphins when they were like 0-13. It was like you got like 3 players. Vonnie Holiday is the only one. Will Allen, and he didn't want to talk. I mean, it was just brutal. And this isn't quite that, but it's no fun. But he comes in yesterday and engaged. I asked him at the young defensive tackles. I do think, this is something Mark grasped onto early. Mark's got a good pair of eyes, and notice Mbachu and notice McLeod and notice some of these young guys, Burrow, early on. And again, I say Gerald Chapman's done a heck of a job with that group because you lose Caleb Banks. Jeremiah Lyons isn't what you'd hope because that ankle of his is still screwed up or not, he doesn't have confidence in it yet. And who would after shattering your leg a year ago? But Mekhi Burrow has been a fantastic player. I mean, exponential growth. I mean, you got to love it when a guy's dropping exponential, right, during a press conference. And he's just been an all-around player. He's been able to do everything from stopping their own pass rush, and you can't ask him to do anything more. And I said, well, he picked off a pass too. He goes, that also. So he was fun. The young defensive tackles, I think, are giving this next coach and regime something to build on in that interior defense. Final thought, Mark. I'm just going to make it brief. I cannot wait for this season to be over. It's drudgery covering a team that's just, they may not be playing off the string, but, Kentucky is about as miserable of a matchup as you could ever want. It is like night game in chilly-ass Lexington, right? A team coming off a 10-3 win. They haven't won in Lexington since 2019 when Kyle Trask came to the rescue, when Felipe Franks broke his leg and kind of sparked that era of offensive football that we haven't seen since. And look, Tennessee in the Swamp's going to be fun. FSU, of course, that's FSU. And, of course, going to Oxford on the 15th of November has high stakes on many fronts. So, I don't know. Can't wait for it to be over. I guess I can't wait for this week to be over. It would be more accurate.
I think there are a lot of fans who are ready for the season to be over. And what stings is you thought basketball, right, was going to be a little bit of a welcome relief, and basketball was a little bit of a gut punch last night on top of people who are black and blue from all the gut punches under the Billy Napier era. But yeah, mine is Lane Kiffin. Like, here we are, we're getting to the Lane crossroads, right? Florida's going to play at Ole Miss next week. How's this going to work? What's going to happen? Is Lane coming? He's got a contract offer. He hasn't signed it. Most of these coaches, right? Rhett Lashley signed his contract. Kurt Signetti signed his contract. Matt Rule signed his contract. If he wanted to stay at Ole Miss, he would sign his contract, right? It's not like they're going to rip that contract up and offer him more because Florida and LSU are both bidding for him. To me, it is very telling. The guy is ready to move on. I think Florida's the greener pasture for him. So how's it going to work? They're not losing it against the Citadel this week. I don't think they're going to lose against Florida next week. I don't think they're going to lose the Egg Bowl, on the day after Thanksgiving. So they're going to be 11-1. They're going to be in the playoff. How does this work? Is he going to take the Florida job at 11-1 right after the Egg Bowl and continue coaching Ole Miss into the playoffs? I mean, sure, he could, but that didn't work out. Saying goodbye like that didn't work out very well for him at Alabama. He essentially got fired before he took the FAU job. It didn't work out very well when he thought he was doing a right thing by telling Tennessee people that he was bolting for USC. They're rioting in the streets in Knoxville. So, that's a tough call. And can Florida afford to wait for him? If it's a handshake, wink, wink, nod, nod, done deal, can Florida wait until, mid-January when he's available? Whoa, I don't know, man. Tell you what, I'm glad that's not me, because that is a hard deal to figure out, and you better have a backup plan, because, what happens if he changes his mind? What happens if Ole Miss goes to the title game? I mean, they're a good team. They're a talented team. They were in that game that they lost against Georgia. So
they were winning by 9.
There you go. So, yeah, it looks like a wide open college football race. So all of that said, it is a tough spot for Florida, no doubt.
Okay. You just said something, though, and it's a great throwaway expression. For anyone just to look behind the curtain here, Mark Long covers Florida, Jacksonville Jaguars, Florida State, by the way. Oh, yeah, and this year Auburn and Alabama. So you're telling me you wouldn't rather get paid $2 million plus and pick a football coach at Florida? I'll take that job. Scott Strickland will do the podcast next week with you. But so fair. I'm kidding. This Egg Bowl drama is interesting because I had it wrong when I was talking to Mark earlier. This Friday, November 28th, is going to be an epic day for college football, especially SEC. Ole Miss and Mississippi State at noon. Georgia Tech, 3:30. Texas A&M, Texas, 7:30. Playoff implications in all 3 of those games likely. I think Mississippi State could beat Ole Miss. Jeff Levy's got that team playing well. But noon on Friday, what stuff is potentially murmurings, right? Speculation, maybe even some, I almost said definity. That ain't even a word.
Distraction.
Clarity.
Oh, yeah. Clarity. Scott wants clarity.
By the end of that day about what is happening with Lane Kiffin. So stay tuned. We will conclude here, Mark, with our weekly Foley's Corner. Nod to the former athletic director who's focusing all around excellence is still being felt. Cross country, women's cross country took home the SEC title on Halloween. 5 runners in the top 18, led by Judy C. in second place. She's from Kenya. We're not going to butcher her name here, Judy. And then Kelvin C. won the individual men's title. So cross country gets a couple of titles on SEC titles, adding to the pile that Jeremy Foley and Scott Strickland have accrued over the years. Then we also have men's hoops opening last night. Women's hoops with a much easier task. North Florida at home, beat the doors off of them. Liz McGill with 26 and 9 assists, but unfortunately her typical 6 turnovers. If Liz McGill can clean that up, the Gators have one of the best point guards in the country. She might already be one of them. And one other thing, baseball coaching turmoil continued at the end of last week. Why don't you tell us about that a little bit, because you're a little more in the weeds of that.
Well, Kevin O'Sullivan took a leave of absence. That's where this thing started. Kevin O'Sullivan takes a leave of absence. Florida names Chuck Girolamo, longtime assistant, to be the interim head coach, acting head coach, waiting for Kevin O'Sullivan to come back. And I think my understanding is Scott Strickland went to administration and said, if Sully doesn't come back, am I going to be considered for the head job? And was told flat out no. So Girolamo jumps and leaves and goes to Tennessee to join Josh Elander. Chuck Girolamo gave Josh Elander his first job. So Elander's, returning the favor, bringing Girolamo in. It was a very good assistant coach. And all of a sudden the Florida's left here sitting without O'Sullivan and their associate head coach. So they turned to Tom Slater, hired him out of, I think he's been in the MLB for a while. But again, it just shows you where we're at, where Florida baseball is at. There are some people believing Sully's going to come back. There are other people who aren't sure if he does come back. There are some people who think Tom Slater's the perfect guy to step in. He's been here. He knows the SEC. There are other people who think that Tom Slater's a joke of a hire, and, the baseball program is, swirling the drain.
Tom Slater was here in 2004 with Pat McMahon, hitting coach. 30 years prior to that, or is it 20 years prior to that, Tom Slater and I played on the same basketball team in St. Christopher's High School in Richmond. And that previous fall played on the same football team. He was a quarterback, sophomore, excellent athlete, great guy. And, actually remembered me back when I was an athlete, which hasn't been the case for many, many years. But he's a good dude. I hope it works out for him. He went to Auburn, was a head coach there, middling record. We'll see what he's learned, what he brings here. They actually have a fall baseball scrimmage on Sunday against Georgia Southern. I never thought I'd go to a fall baseball scrimmage, but I think I'm going to head on out there and see my guy. Pretty kind of just a cool little connection there, if nothing else.
Could you outrun him back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Look, Chip Howard the other day, who's retiring, longtime associate AD, he's like, you played football? I told him straight up, I would have run right over you, Chip. I mean, we'll get Tom Slater on the pod. He can recount Edgar Thompson football days, Ed Thompson then. But not that I was some great player, but I was I played hard. Just like we try here to go hard here on Swamp Things. You can start, tuning in on YouTube if you want. A lot of people have told me if we went to YouTube, we could build our following. We also can build that following by word of mouth. So if you like the pod, tell your friends. They can subscribe on Apple or Spotify. And now subscribe on the Orlando Sentinel YouTube channel. We got a tip of the cap to Wesley Alden, our faithful producer, for our efforts to get this rolling. Thanks for the conversation, Mark.
Thanks for having me, as always.
The three of us appreciate everyone who took time from their busy lives to join us. Until next time. This is going to be an outtake, Wesley, but what do we...
Thank you for listening to Swamp Things, your Florida Gators podcast. For more coverage, visit OrlandoSentinel.com and APnews.com. On Twitter, follow Edgar at OSGators and Mark at APMarkLong. Please subscribe to this podcast, share it on social media, and review it on iTunes. See you next time.